Familicide is when one family member kills other close family members. It has occurred many, many times in royal families around the world throughout history. Incest and familicide was common among royal families in the ancient world. There are lots of cases up until the late medieval period when it starts to become less common. We are going to have a closer look at a few of these cases. It's not pleasant and even disturbing to us in the 21st century, but in the past it was widely accepted as a normal part of life. Queen Cleopatra is a historical figure well known to all of us, but did you know that she was in fact Queen Cleopatra VII? Yes, there were 6 other queens called Cleopatra that went before her. Cleopatra ruled from 51 BC to 30 BC, a total of 21 years. Cleo was in fact a ruthless leader that wouldn't let anything or anyone get in her way of achieving power. Cleo's family history was full of power grabs and murder plots as well as incest. In fact, her parents were probably brother and sister. Cleo and her brothers and sisters were no different. Her first sibling, whom she was also married to, Ptolemy XIII, ran her out of Egypt after she tried to take sole possession of the throne, and the pair later faced off in a civil war. Cleopatra regained the upper hand by teaming with Julius Caesar, and Ptolemy drowned in the Nile River after being defeated in battle. Following the war, Cleopatra remarried to her younger brother Ptolemy XIV, but she is believed to have had him murdered in a bid to make her son her co-ruler. In 41 BC, she also engineered the execution of her sister, Arsinoe, who she considered a rival to the throne. It is said that Cleopatra killed herself with a poisonous snake at the age of 39 in 30 BC. King Edward I, the Hammer of the Scots, was an immensely popular warrior king. He had led his armies into battle many times, and had taken both Wales and Scotland by force. He had established Parliament as a permanent institution, and had a long, successful reign. He died in 1307, whereupon his son King Edward II had inherited the throne of England. But his reign hadn't been quite as successful as his father's. Late in his reign, he found himself in a precarious position. His wife Queen Isabella had forcibly taken the country from him, and had him incarcerated. Edward had largely brought this about on himself. His weak leadership and rumored affair with a nobleman had forced his wife to act before their dynasty was overthrown completely. Edward had a favorite. This was a nobleman called Piers Gaveston. Gaveston seemingly had a close relationship with Edward, and had grown powerful and arrogant as a result. Edward's wife Isabella, not surprisingly, resented this relationship immensely, as did the majority of the rest of the noblemen that held the power in England. In 1312, a group of English barons seized Piers Gaveston and executed him. This left Edward not only grief-stricken but also humiliated. The execution of Gaveston was a sign that Edward's power was fading. If Edward resigned as king, it would mean that their son could take over as king. Edward was given these 2 exact options: either abdicate and let his son replace him, or risk a civil war and being overthrown by force. Faced with these options, Edward abdicated. Edward mysteriously died at Berkeley Castle just months later. It is rumored that Isabella had him killed with a red-hot poker. In England in 1483, King Edward IV died suddenly. He had 2 sons, the eldest of which was to be crowned King Edward V. The 2 boys were aged 9 and 12. Their uncle Richard, the Duke of Gloucester, had the boys placed in his care in the Tower of London until the coronation of King Edward V. However, before the coronation, their uncle Richard had the boys declared illegitimate and took the crown for himself. He became King Richard III. Sometime in either 1483 or 1484 the two princes disappeared. There were rumors that Richard had them killed, but no one really knew as there was only circumstantial evidence. Over 200 years later in 1674, workmen remodeling in the Tower of London dug up a wooden box containing two small human skeletons. The bones were found buried 3 meters under the staircase leading to the chapel of the White Tower. No DNA or other scientific analysis has ever been allowed, as is the case with the remains of any member of the royal family. So the fate of the two princes remains a mystery, although it is most likely that King Richard III, their uncle, had them killed sometime in 1483. A terrible event and probably one of the worst massacres of royalty in history occurred in Nepal. The Kingdom of Nepal is situated in the Himalayas, with China to the north and India to the south. The Nepalese royal family had gathered at the Narayonhiti Palace when shots were suddenly fired. After the shooting, 9 members of the royal family were dead, including King Birendra and Queen Aishwarya. The perpetrator was Crown Prince Dipendra, who shot himself and died 3 days later, making him the 10th victim. He took his motive with him to the grave. The king's brother Jayanendra became king and ruled until 2008, whereupon the Nepalese monarchy was abolished. These cases may be disturbing, but they are a part of our shared history, and so we can't forget these events or the victims. Thank you for watching. Have a great day whoever and wherever you are. Please subscribe and give a like if you enjoyed this video.